All right, a principal residence tax is coming in Canada. Before I get into that, though, I want to touch on the empty homes tax, the speculation and vacancy tax, the foreign buyers tax, which is now an all-out ban in Canada. So getting into this, the empty homes tax was brought in by former Mayor Kennedy Stewart, who, in my opinion, is a radical left-wing socialist. The whole premise behind this is that investors are hoarding empty homes, leaving them vacant, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. None of my investor clients are buying units and leaving them empty. Why would they forgo $2,000 or $3,000 a month in rental income while they're paying the taxes and the strata fees and everything else? It doesn't make any sense. It was a myth. Where this originated from, I think, is when you drive around, look around downtown Vancouver, the skyline, particularly Cole Harbour. In the dead of winter at night, you will see a lot of blacked out windows. And that makes sense. Most of these people are of some means. If you've got a $3, $4, $5 million luxury condo in Cole Harbour, you're probably not going to spend the winters here. You're going to be off to Maui or Palm Springs. But even if you could try and incentivize these guys to rent these units out through this barrage of taxes, what do you think these are going to rent for? What do you think a $4 million condo in Cole Harbour is going to rent for? Are they going to rent it to a university student for $1,500 a month? Get real. It's not going to be affordable, guys. Not only that, but it's expropriation of property rights. The government has no business telling you what you can and can't do with your property. You bought it, you paid the mortgage, you paid the taxes and the strata fees. Government has no business. It's expropriation of property rights, and it's wrong. They should axe that tax. Next is the speculation and vacancy tax, which was brought in through the province. Very similar situation here. Where I see these empty homes, and there are some empty homes in Vancouver, admittedly, I do see some very, very dilapidated single-family homes built 100 years ago. They are unfit for habitation. You wouldn't want to put a tenant in these. The roof might cave in. The stairs could collapse. They are most likely waiting on development permits from the city of Vancouver. Arduous process. What we need to be doing is streamlining the development approval process so we can build some homes here. But that's why these homes are sitting vacant. They're unfit for habitation. Foreign buyers tax. Okay, they came in with a 15% tax. Then they brought in an all-out ban. You cannot buy property in Canada unless you have your PR status. You're a Canadian citizen, or there are some exemptions around temporary work permits. But the premise behind this is that foreign money was driving up the price of housing in Vancouver or in Canada. It's distorting the market. What's happened here? This has hammered the luxury market. So again, going back to a Cole Harbour penthouse, or let's call it the ultra luxury pre-sale market. But those are well over $2,000 a square foot anyway, so they're not affordable. This is not going to create affordable housing. Anybody who believes that is delusional. You're dreaming in Technicolor. What this has done, though, is it's played a part in construction being stalled. Developers have moved to the sidelines. In order to get shovels in the ground, just to get construction financing, you have to be 60 or 70% pre-sold. A lot of that money was foreign capital. So what you're actually seeing is that's contributing to a slowdown in construction. That's going to have major implications for housing supply going forward. So what they've done here, though, they've created a hostile business environment. Basically what we've said is, look, Canada is closed for business and we don't want your money. Makes no sense to me. What we should be doing is opening up the economy, getting some investment in new infrastructure projects and pipelines and everything else. Less regulation, less taxes, get the government out of the way and galvanize the free market to build the millions of new homes that we need in Canada. That's what we should be doing here. But not to get too political, but the Liberals and the NDP, I don't think they really believe in free markets or the free market enterprise system. I don't think they believe in private property rights. They have kind of a socialistic attitude where government has its hand in everything. And, You see that with Mark Carney and this Build Canada Homes program, a new federal housing agency. I guarantee that's going to be a bloated bureaucracy. Getting government into the business of housing, well, good luck with that. Look into the history of this. Look into the former Soviet Union. That's what this sounds like. So construction's halted. The only product we're building right now, look around Vancouver. You'll see these permit applications, these big blue billboards. Pretty well all of them now are purpose-built rental with some 20% social housing component. So we are becoming more of a renter economy here. I think going forward, more and more of you are going to be renters and less are going to be owners here. Getting into the principal residence tax. Okay, as you guys know, if you own your home, you are exempt from paying any capital gains when you go to sell it. It's the best deal we have going in Canada. It's really the only break that we get aside from RRSPs, but those are capped at your annual contribution. This is unlimited. There are rumblings in Ottawa now of a principal residence tax. I know that Mr. Trudeau here, former prime minister, sat down with a guy, this Paul Kershaw, professor. Again, this guy's a radical left-wing, basically an all-out communist, wants to redistribute the wealth, fairness and inclusivity and all that. And they won't call this a principal residence tax, by the way. They will call it something, woke, like an equity and inclusion tax, something like that. You guys have to do your part so the government can step in and build some affordable homes here. But they're not. It's a complete pipe dream. Government doesn't have a good track record. That's why we have a free market. That's why we have developers. There is $47 billion of home equity in Canada. This government is going to want their pound of flesh. Sooner or later, guys, it's coming. I watched an interview with Bob Rennie. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and he was saying the same thing. Sooner or later, there's going to be more taxes in the pipeline. He was talking about potentially an inheritance tax. So make no mistake about it. It's not going to end here. They're going to continue to bring in these taxes because they've run up massive deficits. The government is broke here. But this is what these governments do. They're going to blame the development industry, blame the real estate industry, the investors, the speculators. That's what's causing the problems with housing affordability. Meanwhile, the real problem, the real enemy here is the government because they've got their hand in your pocket at every corner. But watch out because more taxes are coming here. I'm Jay Cooper. Feel free to comment below or subscribe. See you in the next video.